you're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just a poor little me.
Do you feel it?
Yes, we do.
A worldwide awakening is upon us. Welcome to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Where we explore topics such as UFOs, aliens, banned medical cures, as well as classified secret knowledge. Come question your holographic existence. Share experiences from the other side. This is a show that will expand your mind as we decrypt the symbolic messages locked away deep within your DNA. And now, your guides for this magical journey. The hosts of the Universal Consciousness Show, Aage, Nost, and Diana Seraphim.
Hello, hello. You are listening to the show for the global thinking citizen. We have a fascinating guest for you, but first I want to tell you a little bit about how you can connect with us. My name is Aage, and I'm one of the hosts, and my co-host Diana is over in Germany. Are you there, Diana?
I am here. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello. And, of course, for those of you that want to hear this show again, which will be a good idea, you will find us and archived on the Universal Consciousness Show, on YouTube, and also on Facebook. You'll find it on Twitter, and, of course, at kcorradio.com in the archives there at the station also. And also at KCOR Radio website, there is a donate button down at the bottom. And if you feel like you want to support us that way, that would be wonderful, because it sure makes us feel like we're doing the right thing. And of course, we know that anyway, but it sure is good to hear it once in a while from somebody that is listening. So, before I introduce the guest to you that will be talking a little bit about also her extraterrestrial experience and a few other things, this is going to be good. I want to talk also a little bit about the hurricane that is right now heading for Florida. The mind of man is a lot more powerful than what we can imagine. And there are people right now in families, individuals, church groups, organizations. They are praying and they're concentrating on this hurricane not hitting land. In fact, even last night, I did a session with a mastermind so that we could actually turn it to the right and go back into the Atlantic again. And this is something that I think everybody should try to do, because we see the path of the hurricane heading up the coast of Florida, and some of the computer models sends it on shore. So we need to avoid that, because this is a category 4 with an occasional category 5 in it, and that is fatal. We cannot have that happen. We've got to turn this hurricane to the right and back into the Atlantic. And each one of us in the families and church groups or anything out there, anybody out there that has an influence of anyone else, talk about it. Encourage everybody to visualize this hurricane, make a right turn, and head right back out into the Atlantic and fizzle out. We can do this. It's been done before. We can do it this time. Let's spend a little time in meditation and visualize this happening. Put some emotion into it. Put some gratitude and thankfulness for it actually doing what we ask it to do. Put love into it. And put some mental, colorful images of this white blob heading out into the ocean and not harming people on the coast. Let's do it. And I know we can do this. So, we have a lady with us. She's from Canada. Her name is Karen Holton. And you are going to love this because she had an extraterrestrial experience, or actually several, many, and they were all good. There were nothing harmful or scary about it. She was contacted and she agreed to the contact, and she is also she got a program from the ETs to implement in here on Earth. I think it's what she's calling the Quantum Health Transformation Program. And this is very simple, it's free, and we can do this. In fact, there's some phenomenal success stories that has come out with it. Even for herself, I think it said in her bio that she lost 178 pounds of just doing this simple program with herself. So listen really close to what she can tie the contact with ET together with the program that can help mankind here while we're here. And, we'll be here a while. So let's look at this. And I'm just losing myself here in how to explain this. So Karen, welcome to the show. Let's do this.
Hello, Karen, and thank you so much for being here with us. I would just jump into the subject, and please tell us, how did it all begin for you, and what was the turning point that brought you here?
Hello, Diana and Aage. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I would love to tell you about my experience. It sort of starts back intergenerationally, where my grandmother had a experience. She lived in a very isolated area in a little logging camp out in the woods, and she would come home and tell her mom about these friends that she met. And so she kept these friendships throughout her life. She didn't have a lot of use for the usual social interactions. She loved being with her friends. And I believe, although I don't know this for a fact, that somehow she was changed in a way that was passed down through the generations so that we would be more available for contact should that be something that resonated with us. And so on my generation, I have a niece named Heather, who also is very in tune, mostly with the Pleiadians. And myself, I am not with any one particular extraterrestrial group. I am available for anything that comes up that I can help out with. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the question again, Aage?
No, how did it really start for you? And I think that's a good place to start, because some people, they start making the contact as children, and some others, it comes later in life. For myself, I had this little friend that nobody else could see, and that was kind of cute. But, it starts somewhere. Where did it start for you?
Well, it started when I was a little child. I went out. It was just really, I was very aware that I was different than a lot of other people. Not better, but just different. And I like to be alone, because then I could be in this sort of bubble world where everything was good, because my childhood, like a lot of people, was less than ideal. And I would go out and communicate with bugs and trees and flowers. And amongst this openness that I had, I started to get just loving support. Now, when my contacts talk to me, they don't speak in a voice. Often there's several different ways of being contacted, and I get contacted differently by different groups. So this is why I do not discount anybody's story, because there's great diversity in these experiences. But as a little girl, I would go home and I would tell my mom, and she would say, "Oh, that's not real. Don't talk like that. Don't tell people about that." And so I sort of stuffed a lot of it into my subconscious mind until I was in my late teens. And in my late teens, I started having, again, like I said, it's not in conversation. I am contacted and I just have spontaneous awareness. I am just aware of what they're telling me without the cumbersome burden of words, which are a great source of misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. So when I was about that age, I was asked if I wanted to go to another world. And they asked me if I wanted to go with my brother, Daniel. Now, before this, I had not been talking about this because I was basically led to believe that maybe I was a bit crazy. So I talked to Daniel. I said, Daniel, I'm getting these messages of a chance to go to another world. What do you think I should do? He said, oh, I'm getting the same messages. He says, I've been in contact for quite a while, but I didn't want to tell you about it in case, you thought that I was crazy. So I said, fantastic. I would love to go to another world. And so we were set up to go. I was about 18 years old. My brother Dan was about 16 years old. And we were set up to go. And all of a sudden, the night we were supposed to go, I don't know what happened, but I could really feel a disturbance in the force. Let's just call it that. The next day, I contacted Dan. I said, Dan, we didn't go. What happened? He said, I don't know. There was a terrible accident. Some of our friends were killed, and it's probably a good thing we didn't go. And I went, wow. Since then, our lives went on different paths. I always wanted to make a difference in the world by being a good person, and so I often would join churches. And the churches were Christian in nature, but not to say anything bad about that, but just the groups that I involved myself in, they were very against this kind of discussion. And so while I was, getting married, having babies, going through that part of my life, I pushed it to the back of my mind. But then about 2010, I started getting messages again. And I was all for it because there was nothing, like your gut tells you when something's wrong. Your gut warns you. And my gut, just like everybody else's, is a finely tuned mechanism. And mine told me that this was lovely, that this was something that I wanted, that I would enjoy. And so I started communicating again. And part of my experiences with them happen beyond my conscious three-dimensional human self. So I think what that means is that I set up and agree to things to do without actually having to have a conversation about it. Mm-hmm. So I was so excited when I started being taken for this off-world project. Did you want me to pause, Aage? Did you have any questions?
No, this is good. You're on a roll here. So
okay.
Because once you tap into the source like this, we don't want to break the roll. Just keep going.
Okay. So anyway, when it first happened, it was very interesting, but a bit confusing because I was in a room, a big room, kind of like a lunch room with some lounge chairs. And it was a really big room, and there was a lot of other people there. And we were waiting, and we were waiting, and we were waiting. Now, the people that were there, some of them could have been from Earth. Some of them did not look like people that I had seen on Earth before, but we all sort of had the same vibe. We were there in a spirit of cooperation. We were there to do something, and we were waiting. Now, there was a couple of doors, and there was guards by the door. The doors didn't have handles or anything like that, and the guards were very tall and very stoic, and they just stood there, and they just didn't say much. And when I went up to them and said, so when are we going to get the show on the road? Because I'm a bit cheeky in nature. The one guard, he didn't say anything to me, but I knew because they're they run on very strong telepathic communication abilities, that something was going to happen soon. Just wait. And it was all good. So I went, okay. And I went back to the group and I said, hey, you guys, I want to show you a game that we play where I come from, and just to pass the time. And the other people said, okay, great. Now, what I want to just touch on here is that these people didn't look exactly like us, but you know how there's great diversity on Earth, whether we were born native to Africa or Asia or Southeast Asia or Europe, you know, we had some diversity. So all the diversity of these beings was very similar to that type of diversity. So there was nobody scary looking or with 6 arms or drooling with big teeth. There was none of that stuff. It was just beings, people.
It was humanoids then.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I would consider them like cousins, very close to us. So,
yeah, we all have some weird cousins, don't we?
Yeah, we do. Oh, yeah, don't get me started on that. But so I had a hoodie, and I threw my hoodie down at where there was a clear area. I put my hoodie down. I said, does anybody else have something we could put at the opposite end? And somebody else threw down, I don't know, a satchel or a bag or something. I don't know, something like that. And I said, okay, we need something that we can kick around. And so somebody had a piece of refuse, like a drink cup, like that. And we squished it and we put it in the middle. I says, okay, now I'm going to teach you how to play hockey. So they were kind of looking at me funny, and I just started to kick it towards, I says, okay, half of you are on this team, half of me who want to play are on my team. I said, and we're just going to kick this thing and we're going to get it past the jacket. Those are the goalposts. So I just told them about that. So we started playing this game and we were laughing and we were having so much fun. And then the doors opened and it was time for us to go to our meeting. It turned out it was our orientation to the resettlement project. And we went in, and later on, one of the, I don't know, let's call him a supervisor, took me aside and said, you know, Karen, we didn't actually expect you to do that game with the group. It's something that we didn't plan for you folks to do. And I says, oh, well, I hope I didn't do anything wrong. And they said, no, you didn't do anything wrong, but it was interesting to see how you're natural at team building. And we really value that here. So I went, oh, thank you. It was so lovely. So the other thing before I get into too many stories is I want to tell you there is an odd thing that happens here where I don't get picked up by beings in a spaceship. I go to bed at night and I go to sleep. And it's while I'm asleep that I have these adventures. And the time differential is very different because I may sleep for 8 hours and wake up again in my bed. But while I was there, I may have done 2 weeks worth of work on a project. And that makes sense because, different planets have different, they're different sizes, they're different, they're located differently amongst their solar systems, and it would make sense that time would be different.
And but of course, also you went out of the physical existence where time and space does not exist as we know it, where the past, present, and future are now squeezed into the actual present moment, so there's no distance between future and the past. So that way you could be there for 3 weeks and come back here, and you've only been gone for 2 minutes.
Well, yeah, sort of, I guess. I don't exactly know. I'm not a scientist. I'm an experiencer. And so I have my experiences, and I don't even have a lot of proof for my experiences, except that they live very much in me. And I'm very excited about the work I did. So in the beginning, it was very boring. It was just getting together, going over, being split into teams, being given our basic equipment, which is like having a tablet, so basically like double the size of a cell phone size tablet, and each tablet just did one thing. And so it was programmed to do one part of a job. So we might use our tablets for when we were down on the planets, plugging in the information. I was kind of surprised. I thought that, these beings are so high tech and so advanced that they wouldn't need the hands-on physical work of us going down and doing the assessments on these planets. But this is how it was. And as it was explained to me, it is important for us that are going to relocate to be really familiar with the process and have a very physical feeling experience. And
maybe they didn't need it, but you needed it.
We needed it. And we're the ones who are going to be migrating onto these new planets.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to finish up because I know you're going to go to break soon. So I'll just finish up with this little part. I wanted to also say that in my experience, I felt very physical. I felt like I was very physical in my physical body. I didn't feel like I was moving around in a spirit form, quite different than astral projection or times that I have traveled to other worlds without my body. This felt very real, very three-dimensional. It was not as exciting as a lot of people's stories because it was work. It was gathering data and figuring out ways. These planets have everything. They just don't have humanoids. And so before they wanted to resettle us onto any of these new Earths or new worlds, we had to make sure that we're going to integrate properly with the wildlife, with the biosphere, with the plants. We can't do how we do on Earth and then just go to another planet and mess everything up. That won't do. This has to be a whole new way of being. And so it was actually very scientific, like being on an expedition.
That makes sense because we are well on our way to destroy this planet. So we don't want to do that again if you start over.
Well, exactly. So I was very excited. We eventually got to the point where we actually went 2 planets, and I'll save that maybe for after the break because I could get on a bit of a roll with it. Yeah. But in the meantime, I do want to say that I was on some very large ships, the size of big cities, and that we had smaller vehicles that took us closer to home. And
what did these ships, the huge ships, look like? Discs or cigars or?
No, nothing like that. In fact, this is, I think, how people can tell when the true extraterrestrials come and when the fake ones come, because the fake ones just look like these metal flying saucers or cigar shaped. But in reality, there's great diversity amongst these different beings who are facilitating this work. And so the ships are very cool. Like nothing I've ever seen before. This particular one I was on was actually, according to the way I see and the colors and interpretation and perceptions that I have, it was very black, and it had kind of like big arms that came out of it, kind of galaxy shaped, really, with many different layers. And it was just an exploration type ship, so it wasn't anything fancy, but some of them are quite spectacular, I've got to tell you, quite spectacular.
Yeah, have you made any drawings of this, so you can kind of maybe show people what you have seen?
No, but I'm not an artist, so I would love to pair up with an artist one day and maybe do some of that, because they're beyond our imagination. A lot of we're talking about a lot of different groups that are at different levels also of technology and awareness. So some of them are in very biological. It reminds me of that show Lex, Lexx. I don't know if you ever got a chance to see it. That was a very biological ship. And a lot of them are very biological, not inorganic the way we would think of building things.
Okay, we are up against a break here, so let's take about a 3 to 4 minute break, pay some bills, and then we will be right back afterwards talking with Karen Holton about her extraterrestrial experience. See you on the other side.
You're listening to the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly connection to the truth.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Share your knowledge by calling our hotline number at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230.
Call now.
Worldwide callers find us on Skype at KCOR Radio. It's time to abandon your fear and question what you think you know.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
More awakening awaits.
After this, after this, after this, after this, after this, after this.
What is our reality? An ever-evolving concept? An individual experience? Or just life? Tune in Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern for Our Reality, hosted by Violetta Vrankovich.
You guys ready for this?
Come join the movement each and every week as we explore a range of topics, from the ordinary to the extraordinary. Violetta will emerge your consciousness with unique concepts and guests, taking you to places no other show has ever dared to go.
Carefully designed to stimulate the mind.
Our Reality, hosted by Violetta Vrankovich. Live Saturdays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Our Reality. Changing the world, one topic at a time, at a time, at a time, at a time, at a time.
The Fenton Files, where it's all connected.
You see, whoever controls technology controls the world.
Come explore a universe full of possibilities. Every Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. The Fenton Files. Go where no other show has gone before.
You can deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there.
Whether it be UFOs, aliens, conspiracies, or even consciousness, your host, Lorian Fenton, has a file for that. The Fenton File. Fenton File. Fenton File. Your journey to the truth is but a file away. Live Monday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The Fenton Files.
Incredibly intense.
Where truth is just waiting to be discovered.
Toxins are everywhere, from the air we breathe to the food we eat and the water we drink. In a world where 80,000 known toxins and heavy metals threaten our very existence, how are you going to protect yourself and your loved ones? Introducing Pure Body Extra Strength, the world's first colloidal zeolite that helps trap and remove toxins as well as heavy metals from your body that are messing with your memory, clarity, sleep, and focus. Don't just take our word for it, or the testimonials from our thousands of happy customers. Check out the hundreds of articles and case studies on the National Institute of Health website proving zeolite's powerful ability to remove toxins. For a limited time, listeners to KCOR will receive 10% off their first order. To get started, go to trypurebody.com and enter promo code RADIO10. Again, that's trypurebody.com. Toxic junk is all around us, but now you can take back control of your health and protect yourself by detoxing with Pure Body Extra Strength. You'll be on your way to sleeping better, thinking more clearly, and feeling more energetic. Go to trypurebody.com right now and get started today.
Are you ready to go?
It's showtime!
You're listening to the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Break this up!
Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada.
The base is so large it has to draw most of its power from the nearby nuclear fusion plant.
The future of radio is here and now.
Going live in 3, 2, 1.
It's time, once again, to unravel the mysteries of the universe by connecting the dots to a higher consciousness. This is the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Now the world will begin hearing us.
Share your knowledge by calling 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
It's as simple as that.
Find us on Twitter at KCOR Radio or use hashtag KCOR. Even better, join us on the live chat at KCORradio.com. Back to your enlightened hosts, Aage Nost and Diana Seraphim.
Hello, and we are back with the Universal Consciousness Show, and we're talking to Karen Holton from Canada, and she is explaining her extraterrestrial contact experience, and it is getting good because this is an entirely good contact and experience. Nothing scary about it, just educational and full of knowledge. So we want to let Karen get back to it and explain the rest of what she has experienced out there, because this is something that there isn't a lot of experiences like this, because this is entirely good, and a lot of times that doesn't happen. So please, Karen, go on.
Okay, thanks, Aage. I'm thrilled to be able to get this information out. I really am, because I don't think that I am in some way, any way better than other people that I would have these experiences. I'm a big fan of Dr. Stephen Greer and the CE5 movement, where it's human-initiated contact, which really is essentially all that I did. But getting back to some of the adventures, very excited to tell you about that and some of the technologies. I already told you about this one before, Aage, but one time we were leaving the big main ship and we were going down to the docking bay of these smaller ships. And they had a transportation device. A lot of beings are not into fitness the way humans are. They just have a lifestyle that they're not worried about, building up a lot of muscles and things like that. So there's a lot of transportation devices. So there is something like an escalator that's flat that you can take when you want to go long distances there. But also going down, at this point, we had to go down long ways, like a kilometer down, straight down to the docking bay. And it was really cool because it was like an escalator, but it was straight up and down, completely vertical. And you put your hands on either side. There's this smooth metal kind of like rods that run from the top down to the bottom. And you just put your hands around them. And then depending on how tight you grip is how fast you go down. Because some people, are not wanting to go down really fast. So anyway, I started, first time I'd ever used, and I'm not really clever when it comes to technology. I usually have to be shown stuff. So anyway, I turn around and back out, and I put my hands on this and I start going down. And it's a long way down, and I'm going, gee, I wonder what would happen if I just, for a word, clicked off the safety and just went for it. So I just made it so that it went as fast as I could go. And I went whipping down this thing. And I was just enjoying it so much. I was letting out a girlish squeal as I go down. And the woman that was waiting to come down behind me, she laughed and she just jumped on that thing. But she came down head first. So we would have been head to head with her feet at the top. And she came flying down after me like she was chasing me. I'd never even met this woman before. And we came flying down, and because it's so far, like a kilometer, you have a lot of time to play. We're flying down, and we're just squealing and laughing like two children. We had so much fun. And when I got to the bottom, I slowed it a bit, but at the bottom, it's just like poof, like a little poof of air, and then you step off. There's no impact. There's no penalty for going that fast. And I stepped off of there and I went, oh man, I love this job so much.
Yeah, hey, do they have any more openings? I'm interested in too.
Well, don't be surprised. You see, once we're open to this sort of thing, I think it's much more likely to happen. So getting on to some of the planets we went to, when we went and we would camp out there, we would stay there. And it was always very, very plain. Like, for instance, we were either in little huts we made ourselves. Different beings took turns creating the habitats for us to live in. Some of them were like little huts. Some of them were like little square wooden cabins, like what you would experience in northern Canada. They were all very different, but they were very plain. They were very close to the earth. They were all made out of the natural habitat surroundings. And we were very careful to stay away from animals and different groups of beings. It gets kind of funny when you get out there because there's so much diversity, and what we would call an animal, someone else might think of as being part plant. You know what I mean? There's a lot of diversity. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and we ate only raw foods. We ate, depending. One time I was helping unload this vehicle. They have anti-gravity vehicles, but not that different than a pickup truck. They would go around and collect the fruits and vegetables and things and bring them in, and we were unloading them. And we were staying in a tent. We were taking our meals together in a tent. And it was just beautiful, similar. It looks similar. Like one thing we ate there that I loved so much was very similar to a raw fig, but big like a watermelon. Very, very soft and easy to digest. Very, very delicious. And depending on where we were, we also had some wonderful other experiences. Like I can remember being in natural springs that were in these sort of natural caverns that were in the side of a mountain. And we'd worked hard all day. We were sitting in these hot springs and we were just relaxing and looking up. And there was 2 beautiful moons, just one farther away than the other one. And they were so beautiful and it was so peaceful. And it was just such an enjoyable experience. It was just amazing. The work itself was not that interesting. It's just we had our tablet. We had what we were supposed to be doing. We were scanning plants and things like that. We were getting an idea. And then, I guess, back on the ship, they would then compile the data and create I guess, a visual, a 3-dimensional holographic visual of what was going on the planet.
Yeah. Did you see any of the animals? What did any of them look like?
I had a really great animal experience on one planet. It was the one where we were staying in the little cabins. By the way, this project went on for about 3 months of my time back in 2015. But anyway, we were out walking through the woods, and the trees were very black. The bark was very that was just the color of it there. It was very, very black and very, very tall, and there wasn't foliage except in the very, very top. And we were walking along this path, and this animal flew past me, and I thought it was a giant butterfly. It had these beautiful, beautiful, thin, iridescent wings like a huge butterfly, and it was flying past me. And I didn't really get a good glimpse, but then when we came back later after working, I could hear something sounding like it was in distress from a tree. I looked way up, and here it was, the same little being, and it was calling. And I love animals. So I put out my arms. I said, come to me. It's okay. Come to me. And it flew down and it landed in my arms, and it was like halfway between a cat and a monkey. It was so adorable. And it just clutched. I just held it, and it just clutched itself right to my chest. And I don't know, it might have been a pet or something that had gotten out. I don't know. But I took it back to the cabin, and I made a little nest for it, and I put it in there, and it was so happy it just went to sleep. And so that was really, really adorable. Oh. The animals are very similar to Earth, just, again, minor differences the same way as humanoids had minor differences. So, like, some people had more pronounced cheekbones, some had more bushy eyebrows, some had more forehead. There was a bit of difference in the shape of our skulls. Some were taller, some were tinier, very similar to that. So it would be very similar to buffalo or bison, very similar, not so much our domesticated animals, but the wild ones, very similar to that.
Yeah. Well, did you know if there was, in nature here, we have this predatory animals as well as, friendly animals, so to speak. Did you have that there also, or was it just one kind?
Well, I didn't really get involved in anything like that, to be honest. We were never afraid. We were never afraid for our safety. We were never warned to stay away from this type of creature or that. We were warned, though, about staying away from the animals as much as possible, because everything we do has an imprint. Everything we do has an effect. And we wanted to leave these beings and these creatures on these planets as natural as the way we found them when we leave, the same way, so that we're not interfering. This was not the time to interfere. This was the time just to collect data.
Okay, yeah. So there could have been all kinds of different animals of that nature also, but chances are there was not in your region or where you were. So you could have been brought to a safe place.
Yeah, it wasn't, the whole project was work. It was not about entertainment. It wasn't about sightseeing. It wasn't about really anything else. It was just collecting data and work. And then the projects I had might not be the same as what other people's projects had, but I just didn't get picked. I got picked for just working in groups. I'm good for morale. I'm fun to be around. And also have my own way of being, I guess, that just works well with other people and other beings, high level of respect. But no, that particular 3-month project was mostly collecting data. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but that's how it was.
Yeah, but so you were out there working for about 3 months. Was it the same amount of time here, or was it much shorter here?
Oh, it was 3 months of our days. So it was about 3, this is in 2015, it was about 3 months of my going to bed at night, going to sleep, going out on these adventures, coming back before I woke up in the morning. This went on for about 3 months of our time. I'm thinking the project was actually much longer, probably more like 3 years, but because of the time differential.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to talk to those guys. I'm interested in the job.
It's the best job I ever had. I have never done anything so thrilling, so exciting. And there's no drama. These people, nobody is interested in drama.
No.
Nobody. No, it's just lovely.
Nobody's sane anyway, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you also told me that they gave you some information about things that you can do here. And I think you turned that into the Quantum Health Transformation Program. Could you talk a little bit about what they actually told you could do to help mankind here?
Okay. Well, first of all, the program was to help me with my physical suffering, with my physical health issues. They had great compassion for me and they wanted me to have it. But because I turned out to be a pretty good channel, they also wanted me to downstep it. So when I got the information, this is just how it works for me. And a lot of other channelers, I don't know how they do it, but this is how I do it, is they drop an information packet in me. So I get it all at once. And it's a little overwhelming because it's a lot of data. And then as I go out into my everyday normal life, it unfolds, the lessons within that data unfold. So the whole quantum health transformation, which I arranged in 9 steps, came to me in one moment in one afternoon. But then it took months for me to then downstep it into information that my fellow human beings could understand and make use of. And the other thing, it was challenging because I needed to present the information in universal terms, not in European terms or any other kind of terms. It had to be in universal terms. And I also needed to demystify the information so that the ordinary person could understand it and then start putting it to use in their lives. And it includes everything. A lot of it is detoxification. Some of it is around food, but a lot of it is about opening up our minds. So the very first step, which I do in reverse order, is called Quantum Health Transformation Step 9. And what I do is I teach people how to go from binary thinking to infinity thinking, how to look at things with both light and shadow happening at the same time, and the great diversity around perceptions, concepts, ways of doing things. It's very complicated. And I needed to put that into a program where everybody could easily understand it and start making use of it. And then I get into everything from grounding, being in nature, all the stuff that's now becoming really popular. And this is back around before 2015. This is before I was involved in the relocation program. I was actually putting together Quantum Health Transformation. But it also involves exercises we can do that I have personally done that have changed reality, where I've gone back and changed the past, and then gone to visit people who remember it the way I changed it too, not the way it was. So there's
that gets interesting, because dwell a little bit on that, because I'm the only one that I know of that is crazy enough out there to talk about, yes, we can change the past. And I explain how it can be done. I want to hear how you did.
Okay, I did it because I have a degree in social work, but I'm a rebel social worker. So what I did was I took all the fringe courses. I didn't take the classic social work courses. And in one of the courses I took was psychology. And in there's a famous actor by the name of Alan Alda. And they did an experiment with him where they corrupted his memories. And he was shocked at how easy it was to correct your memories. And I went, oh my goodness, most people are corrupting their memories negatively. They're taking out a trauma that happened in the past. They're bringing it into the present. They're embellishing it with all these feelings and perceptions and changing it and putting it back. And the next time they take it out, they're doing it again. Well, no wonder so many people aren't getting better. So I remembered, so when I was doing quantum health transformation, I remembered that and I went, you know what? I'm going to experiment on myself. So what I did was I come from a significantly dysfunctional family. A lot of us do. This is no surprise. And my mother and father were very much into their own projects, and they didn't have a lot of time for me. And so one of my sadnesses at the time was that I would come home from school and I would want to talk to my mom, and she would have no time for me. She wouldn't give me eye contact. She wouldn't talk to me because she was so wrapped up in these business things that her and my dad were into. So I took that memory and I changed it. And I changed it so that every day I came home after school. This is going to make me cry a little bit, Aage, because it's very emotional. It's very, very profound what happened. And so the fake memory that I planted in myself was that I would come home after school and Mom would ask me how my day was, and she'd listen to me and give me full attention. And she'd make us tea. We had these lovely little tea parties after school. And if I had come home and I'd had a really bad day, Mom could always tell, and she'd get down the good china. And it was such a beautiful memory. I spent a lot of time creating this memory and putting it into my reality. 6 months later, I go to visit my mom. And out of the blue, never told her about any of this, out of the blue, she turned to me and she said, Karen, do you remember the tea parties we used to have after school? And it blew my mind. Aage, it blew my mind. Because I know that never happened. But it did happen because I made it happen.
Well, you changed your reality.
Yeah, I did. I do it quite frequently now. And it's been interesting how I'm taken out in the social context and out in regular society. People are I'm too weird for them. And I don't mean to be, but I am excited by what I have experienced.
I tell you what you just said here, if people would dwell on this for a little bit, they will understand how important it is, because all of us have things in our past that was of a very negative nature. In one fashion or another. We can go back and remold that thing, or we can go back before it even happened and decide that it didn't happen at all.
Exactly.
And we can change.
But the question is, do you think if you can change a past event, also the ripple effect created by this past event will disappear?
I am not 100% sure because I'm not a scientist. I don't understand the dynamics. I just know that it works. So one way of looking at it is that I actually shift to a different dimensional reality where that actually happened. Or I went back with, I think we all have these amazing magical powers we are not in touch with. And I went back and changed it. But absolutely, from the moment I was conscious that I had made this change in my past, things changed for me. So you might be quite right, Diana.
Wow. But before we get to the end, can we find all this information that you are talking about in your free online course about quantum health transformation?
Yes, the two easiest ways to access this information is either through my website, which is www.KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. I'm a completely different kind of health coach, and Karen Holton is spelled with two O's in Holton, Holton. And on there's a tab that has free resources. And if you go to the free resources tab, there is the complete quantum health transformation program. It's actually the original 1.0. I'm in the process of upgrading it and doing the 2.0, but the 1.0 is still there. And along with some of the published articles I've written and some other a lot of my blog information, is tons and tons and tons of information under free resources. And there's no strings attached. I probably wouldn't even know that somebody went on and accessed the information. There's no tracking. There's no ads going to come from this, nothing like that. It's completely free and there for everyone. And then the second way is through my YouTube channel, which is just Karen Holton YouTube channel. And I have all my quantum health transformation on there as well.
Oh, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
And before we get to the end, I have to tell you that I had here prepared for you a lot of questions, but I will keep them for the next time when you will come to us.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah, we'll do that. And that was Karen Holton, healthcoach.com.
Yep.
Okay. Where else can they find you? And we have 3 minutes left here. So tell us also what kind of other coaching services that you may do.
Okay, a couple of the things I do is part of the Quantum Health Transformation Program is I recommend orgonite to people, orgone generators. And I've got a lot of free articles about orgone generators, but the same beings who gave me the quantum health transformation also taught me how to do quantum entanglement on them. So they're boosted in a way that other organites are not. And this is what I've done is I've linked every piece of orgonite I've ever had, any piece that I will ever have in the future, any piece that I have now, they're all linked together. And they're linked to all the crystals. So when they go out into the world and people buy them, they're actually creating an invisible mesh or network of this orgone energy, because there is no time and space where these organites do the majority of their work. And so it actually creates a grid of healing, loving environment as they go out into the world. So that's kind of cool. And I'm also a medical cannabis social worker. That's my social work hat, where I teach people how to use cannabis appropriately, fit it into basically a quantum health lifestyle so that people can get better. And it is, along with many other plant-based medicines, when it's used properly, a very effective tool to help us get where we're going.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, I recommend very highly that people go and check that out, Karen Holton, healthcoach.com, and go have a look at it, because now we are down to the end of the show. And I thank you very much, Karen, for being a guest with us. And we're going to try to get you back on to talk about the rest of the story, as the saying goes. So we will be back next week, and we will see you then. In the meantime, all of you be good to each other.
Thank you, Aage and Diane.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been the Universal Consciousness Show.
The Universal Consciousness Show.
Your weekly guide to a deeper understanding of the all that we are.
Well, in a few years, it will be a matter of common sense for very many people that they're one with the universe. It'll be so simple.
Live Mondays at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the show, hosts, or their guests, please visit universal-consciousness-show.com. That's universal-consciousness-show.com. Remember, there's a shift coming. A new earthly paradigm. A shift to universal consciousness.
Universal consciousness.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.